Hello there, my name is Chris Fernandez. I'm a solutions engineer with Keysight Technologies. Today I'm going to go over the fifth video of a series of videos to introduce the user to the automation using RESTPy Python and IxNetwork. For today's video, I'm going to go over how to configure and verify statistics on a traffic. This is the fifth video of this series. The first video was about creating a session. The second video was about adding ports to a session. The third video was about loading pre-existing configuration and remapping ports to a session. The fourth video was about creating the stack that you're going to see this in this video from scratch. So we adding the topology, the device group, and then they stack on top of physical ports and bringing that up. And now in this fifth video is a continuation of the fourth video. At this time we have the stack already in place. So from the previous video we created this scenario here where you have a server and client in one side. You have one server and 5 clients on the other side. And this time we're going to bring in the sessions like we did before. So the starting protocols. This is where we're going to start off right here. So I'm just going to click continue here the code and stepping through it. So this here will bring the server and clients sessions up on the both ports, and the ARP will be resolved. And over here is just checking for if all the sessions are up, independent of how many sessions you have. So that's why I'm using sessions down equals to 0 and session not start equal to 0. So if those two parameters here are 0, then it's obviously that all the sessions are up. Now one additional note here is this add row filter line here that I do. This is just for illustration because our protocol summary table, so protocol summary only has one protocol type. But if there were multiple protocols on this scenario here and you want to filter just based on a protocol type, this is what you do. You would add a filter, meaning that you're going to just look at the line here that starts with IPv4 using regular expression. So this is what this line 127 is doing. Now for traffic, I'm going to be creating a IPv4 traffic since I have IPv4 stack. There are multiple types of traffic that you can create, including PPOE, PPP traffic, raw traffic, Ethernet traffic, and so on. What you can think about how you create traffic is that the up the layer you are, less are you going to be able to manipulate the stack underneath. So what I'm saying is, for example, when I have creating IPv4 traffic and I have the configuration here already set that has Ethernet and IPv4, the information from my session here is going to be transported into, or going to be translated into the traffic that's created, and I'm not going to be able to change any of the MAC addresses or anything like that that is already part of this configuration here. So the IPv4 layer, the VLAN, and all that is going to be sucked in from the session that is up here and put it into the traffic itself. So I won't be able to change any of those layers underneath. And we can go over each line of code and what it's doing. So I'm just going to go step through this checking condition here to see if my sessions are up, and in this case it is. So the first thing I'm going to do now is creating a traffic item. A traffic item has has one or more flow groups within it, and in the automation we call it end set points. So if you want to translate this into how we do it manually and how we do it on the automation, if you want to create manually, like on through the automation, you can look at what I'm doing here. So when I did this, I created a traffic item. So this is a traffic item, and the traffic the client, the endpoint set is the points that I'm sending the traffic to and from, right? So it's my source and destination. So when I click on clients and server here, I can go in here and actually If I don't want to use all the clients, I can move into this table here, and I want to say I just want to use 2 of them, for example, and the 2 of them in the beginning or the end, you pick. So this stuff here is what you can do manipulation through GUI and the automation as well, but it's a little bit more complicated, so I'm not going to be using that. But my point here is that now you have a traffic item that I give it a name here. The type of traffic is created here, and this is where I say if it's bidirectional or not. So this translates well with what I'm doing in this line of code here. So this is the name, the bidirectional, and the type of traffic. It's all here. And if the traffic can be self-destined, meaning if you want to send the traffic in, expect to receive in the same port, you can click that up. Otherwise, you're going to create endpoint sets, which is right here, which is exactly what we're doing here when we assign source and destination. So as many points you're going to do it here, you have to click again, and click this endpoints. And so I'm creating multiple endpoints inside of a traffic item here. Okay, so each traffic item can have multiple endpoint sets, and what we call it endpoint sets or flow groups. They're kind of the same thing, and different things that can be set on the traffic item, they are different than what things that can be set under the flow group itself. So after you create the multiple traffic endpoint set, that's what we're doing here on the automation. We are actually configuring the rate and the packet size on the automation, and then we are generating and moving on. So on the GUI here, it's a little bit more in depth, and you can go through this here, and you're going to see packet quals, stuff that we're not doing here in automation. Automation is actually a little bit simpler, but you can see that the concept of creating for all endpoint sets or individually, if this here is going to have size or different sizes and packet payload, you can do it for all encapsulations, for all endpoints, or for individual ones. So this is the type of thing that you can configure per endpoint set or flow groups. And then you get into the rate itself, that you can do it per endpoint set or per everybody that using the same. And then under flow tracking, you see that flow tracking here, I no longer have that menu up here because that's a traffic item type of configuration. So it's how we're tracking this traffic itself. Is it based on IPv4 address, destination, Ethernet, and source and destination port, or endpoint value, and so on? So those values here, it's what you see on the line 159 here for the automation. So other than that, there's protocol behaviors here. This is for if the MAC address changes between task cases when you bring up and down, and preview and validate. So preview and validate, those are not able to see it on the GUI. So I'm going to cancel this out and actually create traffic using automation. So the first line here is actually going to be creating a traffic item, this line here, 135. So I create a traffic item, and now I'm creating 4 endpoint sets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you can see here, I'm going from server to clients. In the last one here, I'm doing clients to server. So this is the 4 endpoint sets. So if you look at my flow groups now, the flow groups are exactly those endpoint sets that I created here. Now that I have created them, I have to kind of reread memory from the traffic item. That's what this line here does. Is actually going into my session and grabbing information about each config element, which is what I use to set those endpoint sets. So I'm gonna quickly go through this here. So this kind of grabs in the handle for that object now, and now I can start manipulating that. So the manipulation here happens in the object itself, and it's only going to be applied when I generate traffic. It's the same as this writing this button here. So I'm going to be setting different rates and packet sizes depending on the configuration element here that I have. So I'm going to skip this. I'm gonna go through this here. As you can see here, nothing changed on my endpoints here. Everybody still have the default values because I'm changing on the object, but I haven't done any generate yet. So as soon as I hit generate, now that changes happened within my screen here on the right. Now I'm going to be setting the tracking, what I'm tracking for my traffic item. So this is a traffic item type of value. So that's why you see traffic item here, tracking, and so on. And for you to know how those two values, what does that mean? The easiest way to do it, there is some documentation around it, but the best way to do it, or the easiest way to do it, is reverse engineering. So I can go into my traffic item here and double click on it, and under flow tracking, you'll see there's nothing here configured right now. And what I did before for the automation, I set what I wanted. So I wanted, since the traffic is going from server to clients, I wanted to look at each flow as the destination. So I put this one here and this one here, and this kind of shows like what information are you tracking. So I'm tracking each flow that has different IP addresses on this destination, right? So I'm gonna unclick this. So after I click this, I have to go under automation. So if you click on automation in browser, and now we can kind of follow this the automation here to see where to do the tracking. So IXNet server, that's a traffic item. So I go into traffic item. So over here under traffic item, and that's my that's this traffic item that I created here. So I go in there, and now I see tracking. So the tracking for T here is always a caps, but the tracking here has lower case. And when you do here, you go to tracking, and you see here what I have right now. I have nothing, right? I'm not tracking anything, but here's the available fields. So when I do the tracking on the GUI, I can go back here and see what values I should be putting in here. So those are the values that I'm gonna do here, and then I'm gonna do when I hit generate. So I can actually reload this here, and you see that that's what I'm tracking by. And if you look back into my GUI here, I can look at my tracking again, and that's what I did: traffic item and destination address. That's exactly what I did. But that's a reverse engineer how I got to know those two values that I had to put in here. So now I'm gonna after I generate traffic, I'm gonna set to apply. When I hit apply, the traffic that I got that I created now is going to be sent to the FPGA for transmission. At this time here, that's when I'm gonna apply the traffic to the FPGA, and you're gonna see a warning message. So let me go back into my traffic groups here. As you can see, it didn't get applied yet, so I'm gonna do this command here, and you're gonna see that the traffic's, what I wanted to demonstrate here is that the traffic here that I wanted was a 64-byte packet, but because of the signature, which are the bytes used by Ixia to do stats and so on, they are occupying more space inside the packet, so I'm not able to actually send packets that are lower than 70 bytes because of the signature field or bytes that I use, that Ixia is using for flow tracking. So in order to avoid this problem here, because sometimes you do want to test packets that are smaller, what I'm doing here in this code here is actually minimizing the rate, and I can show you where this gets set on the traffic item. So let me execute this line here, and then I'm going to apply again. And now when I generate the traffic again, apply, and I'm going to generate. So at this time, when I did generate, you'll see that the 64 now, it is 64 byte packets that get applied. And the change that I had to do was actually inside of under test options, under traffic options and global settings, and this is what got set by the automation. Reduce the signature to 4 bytes and for traffic smaller size. That's what this 2 lines here did. So now I can actually send packets that are smaller than 70 bytes in my case here. So I'm going to close that. Now I'm going to actually start traffic, and I'm going to sleep for 20 seconds. So now traffic is flowing. As you can see, traffic is started here. The way for you to know what the status of the traffic is, you can always look at this variable here. You can see here, in my case here, IXNetwork state, oops. So it started. I'm getting an error because I'm not putting that into anything, but the value that is inside here is started, as you can see here in red. So the traffic is started. Now that the traffic started, there are a couple things that you can change while the traffic is running. One is the traffic size or packet size, and the other one is the frame rate. So I'm gonna grab two dynamic frame size here and dynamic rate. Those are the two variables that you can modify while the traffic is running. You don't have to stop and to do anything. So those two variables are part of the traffic object, I guess you can say that way. So under, if I go back into traffic item, go into traffic item here, as you can see here, dynamic update, and there is dynamic update traffic item, sorry, config element. So the high stream, so this is going to be traffic item dynamic rate, or it's going to be traffic dynamic update. So it's going to be traffic and config element. So this is session, traffic, and dynamic front. So it's IxNetwork, traffic, and under here you're going to see dynamic rate and dynamic size. Those are the two variables that you can change while the traffic is running. So for example here, I'm changing the size of the config element 1, which is my flow 1 here, from 100 to 1280. So that's going to happen on the fly. So I can do that, and you're going to see the change immediately happening here without me stopping the traffic. And I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to change the rate of the second one from 1000 frames per second to percent line rate for 50. So the first I do, it changes to line rate, and then it changes to 50. So this happens without stopping the traffic. That's how you do it. So now that the traffic is still running, I'm actually going to use the stat view assistant to look into traffic item statistics here on the bottom, and I'm going to compare or grab those two statistics here, which are rates. So rates, you look at it when the traffic is running. So I'm just grabbing that statistics, and I'm kind of just showing it off here, just doing an info here on them. So I'm just printing them out. And we can look at the terminal here, and this is what got printed out. So now that this kind of gives you an idea of how to look into the stats when it's collected. Now I'm going to stop traffic, so I'm going to stop traffic here. As you can see here, I did stop, and I moved in really quickly, and the traffic was not stopped yet, so it was waiting to get statistics. See here, the state was actually waiting for stats. So even though I stopped, the traffic didn't really fully stop. It was waiting for statistics from the traffic from the automation. So this is a way for you to actually don't move on before, because if I did this command here, getting stats while the traffic wasn't fully stopped, I will get an error. So you always have to make sure that the traffic now is stopped when you're trying to collect stats at the very end here of the test. So I'm going to move on here. And this time I'm actually getting statistics for the flow statistics. So I'm looking at flow statistics table here. And what I'm using again here, I'm adding a filter that the T export is port 2. So the T export is port 2. So this line number 6 here, which is the T export is port number 1, I'm not going to look into it when I'm grabbing the statistics here. So this add filter eliminates this line from your code here. So this simple code here is just going to go in and create a results dictionary based on the first 5 lines there, and I'm just grabbing the TX and RX frames, which are two of those the columns here, the 2 columns here, and I'm using the IP destination address. I'm using this column here as the key for my dictionary here, and then I'm just storing the values. And then after I'm storing the values, I'm kind of looking to see if I lost any packets, right? So the test pass. So I'm just configuring. I'm just going through my dictionary that I did, and I'm looking here to say, okay, test pass. So this is an easy way for you to look into how grabbing statistics. So we created traffic, IPv4 traffic, we sent traffic, we modify while the traffic was running, and then we stop traffic and look at statistics and kind of make sure that we got all the traffic that we sent. So now over here is just a cleanup session. So over here I'm stopping protocols, and then I'm releasing the ports. It's like me going here and doing release all ports. And then I'm actually cleaning up since the session was already there. So session ID, it was already there, was not none. I'm gonna go into this code here, and I'm gonna do new config, which is the same thing as me pressing this blank, the new here, and kind of creating from scratch. And that's it. So that's it for this session. So if you have any questions, of course, just reach out. A good source for any of the automation that is more in depth is going to be openxia.com. If you go in here and under the user guides, and you can go into RESTPy. Usually this is the best way for you to figure out how things are. You go into the API reference here, and everything that you see here, it can be, or you don't know, look in here first, and then you can also look into samples and so on for how things are done. Anyway, I hope this helps, and of course you can always reach out to me or anybody at Keysight, and we'll be glad to help out. All right, thank you. Bye.